I have to say, of the thousands of singers that have been a Continental over the last 50 years, you are among a handful that are as God-gifted vocally as anybody I've ever heard. And you have an
Oh,
extraordinary voice, and
thank you so much.
you represent us well. So it's
Oh, listen, I have to tell you, I was so excited when you asked me to have a chat because I Continentals was what totally created me. I mean, made taught me everything.
wow.
And I to this day, when people talk about things, I'll say, "Oh, there's no I would not even be here. I wouldn't know this, I wouldn't know that without my training in Continentals."
Wow.
And it was training. It really was. All of us were so young. We didn't know what we were doing.
Right.
But I started when I was 17. And
Me too.
uh really? Seven?
Yeah.
Okay.
My
Because
first
who
tour,
did you travel with?
I toured. My first tour was with Brad Holmes. We went to the South
Oh,
Pacific,
Brett
and I was
Holmes.
17. Yeah, and then Fred Human, then Monty and Krista Kelso, and then I was directing after that. So
Oh my goodness.
now
All
talk
amazing
about your tours.
people.
Who did you tour with?
Okay, so I didn't have the opportunity to be with a bunch of different people. I was with Scott and Lynn Naumann,
Mhm.
and I did 4 tours with them. And they were with the orchestra.
Yeah.
And so I did 85, 86, 87, 88.
Wow.
And we did Russia, we did Hong Kong, Ireland, Bermuda. We were also young, and so the training that we got at our training camp and then also on the road was
Right.
incredible. Um,
Talk about it a
and
little bit. Like,
yeah,
describe that training.
I would love to. Okay, so the training camp was 2 weeks, wasn't it? Did we
Usually
have
about
training
12
camp
days.
usually
About 12
12
days.
days? So, within those 12 days, of course, you're working on on the songs and the things like that.
Yeah.
But we would also have people come in, other directors maybe, or people that were just experts in their field, and I'm talking people like Chris Beatty, who is like the king of, the vocal apparatus.
Yeah.
And of course, at the time, I have no idea. I'm just thinking he's a very nice man and he talks like this. But I'll never forget one thing he taught me.
Hmm.
So it's like I took little bits and pieces from these different guys. He said that when you're walking, when you're singing, you need to have really good posture. And I was thinking, really? And I'm 6 feet tall, so most everybody that I'm ever around is a little shorter than me, at least
Yeah.
at the time.
Yeah.
And so, I didn't. My mom always taught me to be proud of being tall, but Chris Beatty said, pretend there's a string here and then it's pulling you like this.
Yeah.
So you're always presenting almost. And of course, as a singer, you want to present or
Yeah.
whatever. So I took that from him instantly. You had people like David Maddox, who was, also extraordinaire
Genius.
orchestrator, ridiculous genius,
Yeah.
crazy. Just all these amazing people that would come in and work with the orchestra and the
Yeah.
orchestra singers. And then when you get on the road, this one was hard for me at first, and I admit it. And if you talk to Scott and Lynn, they'll be like, she was the worst. I wanted to be with my friends. I wanted to be with my friends, and they wanted us to sit with someone different every day. Really? Come on. I made these amazing friends at camp. I'm going to hang out with my friends. So that was the worst. I didn't like that at first because then, I have to sit with somebody fresh. But it was the most invaluable lesson that I've ever had.
Yeah. Isn't that
As a grown up, I mean it, and I'll tell the world about it because as a grown up, I've been in all these different situations, and I see little cliques forming in these different places, and I think, oh, that poor person is sitting by himself. That's terrible. Even today, in the group that I'm in now, I mean, like, you don't people don't think about it if it wasn't anything that you've ever really been trained to look for. And
right?
I'm instantly aware of someone who's on the out. I'm like, you got
Wow.
to come in and be with us. Come on, come on.
For those
And
that
then
may not be
learn about it.
aware, talk about what you're doing and what you've been doing all these years.
So yeah, so right now I'm in a group called Voctave, which is a blast and a half. It's 11 singers and it's all a cappella. We do Disney and kind of the American songbook, all a cappella, vocal orchestration. So super high highs and super low lows um so that's what we're doing, and we travel all over. We
And
do
it's extraordinary. I mean, it's so
thank
fun to
you.
see people sharing the videos around social media. I mean, it is extraordinarily good.
Thank you so much. We
Congratulations.
all met at Disney. We all met in the Voices of Liberty. Not all at the same time. We kind of came at different times,
Right.
and then one time this guy said, "Hey, let's make a record."
What are the things, if any, that cross over, that are the connective tissue between your Continental experience and
Mhm.
Voctave, and even the things you've done with Disney? Did your Continental training prepare you to excel in that environment?
Oh, without question. Without question. The discipline that you have that you learn from Continentals is unmatched. And unfortunately, so many people don't know what that is. And to me, it's 101. It's Continentals 101. For instance, we would be as orchestra singers, and of course, that's all I have to go on. But I don't. What Scott Naumann would say, okay, now you look to the left. If I'm standing up here, I'm looking, and he says, and you look to the crowd, and then you check in with me as the director, and then you keep going, and you know, always making sure that everyone got a smile, everybody got something from you, your communication.
Wow.
And then, to always look lifted, your eyebrows lifted, always showing some sort of teeth, which sounds so funny now that I'm saying it out loud. But that was also one of the things that I got from there, because the person in the back of the house, if you're looking, kind of scrunched, like, you to the back of the house look like you're angry when you're probably just listening to the
Right.
director talking.
Right.
And then this is the biggest one to me. Absolutely. And it has taken me through every single group I've ever been in. This is the biggest one. Never take your eyes off the back of whoever's singing or speaking. Never. And if you turn into your people to, like for us, we were on a platform. So you got a guy here that's singing, and you got people over here that are singing back up, but you guys here, you look at him. And then when it's time for you to turn around, you don't make eyes at your buddy across from him.
Right.
You just turn out. And people are like, "Boy, she never looks at me. She'll never make eyes at me in Voices of Liberty, or she'll never, And there was one girl in Voices of Liberty when I first joined that I found out was a Continental because of that very thing.
Wow.
Her name was Amy Martin Cole, or
Yep.
Amy Martin, and she was in the Orchestra Singers
Yep.
with who was before Scott?
I know she toured with Jeff Kennedy, Larry Sparks, probably.
Larry Sparks.
And then
Okay, but she was Jeff Kennedy.
Jeff Kennedy, and yeah, isn't that
So
something?
she was in Voices of Liberty, and she was an alto, and I'm a soprano. So we would be looking at the soloists who would stay in line, and then when they would stop their solo, we would look out, or they would come back in, and we would look out, and we'd never look at each other. And she said to me, she said, one time, I noticed that you didn't look at me. And I thought, huh. And so then we began a conversation, and we found out we were ex-cons, and we're like, I knew it. You're different. And that was, to me, one of the biggest things that's carried me through. And I tell everybody about it, if because sometimes Voctave gets to do some university things,
Right.
where we get to go out and talk to, music students and whatever, which sadly is not as many as I wish there were. But I'll share that, with people. I'll say, listen, it's so important, because then they know you're engaged. They know that you're part of this whole experience. You've not checked out.
Right.
So, that's a discipline thing that honestly, all my training came from Continentals. I mean, I'm just thrilled to be able to tell everybody. I wish
I love that.
Continentals was still around, to do those things.
Well, the great thing is, maybe not here in the U.S., but the international groups are, we have groups all around the world. In fact, we have
Are still doing it.
three of them that are touring this week: Chile and Romania, and
Oh,
the Koreans are about to tour here in the States. They're coming to Vegas and Arizona in Korean churches.
are they in the States? Oh, I mean, I didn't know that, because I wish I would go see them in a hot minute.
What's great about this is that they'll all be seeing this video, and it's a way
Oh,
to transfer those skills. It's part of that ripple effect we
wonderful.
talk about. So I appreciate you.
Yeah, there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it. And of course, you build friendships because you're in a situation for 3 months or 4 months or whatever, your time frame is, that uh, that you can't really talk about. Your family doesn't understand.
Right.
Only you guys. It's like the army, or going into the military or something. People don't understand what a host home's like. If they've never done it, if they've never had ham sandwiches for 2 weeks straight,
Yeah.
which was another thing. I was like, what are you guys talking about? Ham sandwiches all the time. I was like, what is that? And I mean, if they weren't right, that having a peanut butter and jelly sandwich was like the
Luxury.
absolute luxury. And I'd be like, I'll give you 5 of my ham sandwiches for that one peanut butter sandwich.
That's so funny. Well, I can't wait to get Scott and Lynn on here too. They're on my list, and
Oh man.
I know they'll
Listen,
love hearing these
they
stories.
were, and they'd just been married just, I think, less than a year when
Yeah,
they
a few
started
years.
with us.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine now, looking back, what that was like, and for them
Yeah.
to have to
Yeah.
handle us,
Yep.
and I mean, I know I was a pistol. I remember Scott said something to me, because we had, I wasn't a pistol, but I just was like, I liked my friends. I should say it like that. I mean, he might disagree, but we did a video someplace, one like Dallas, one big church there, because the orchestra could only go into the bigger churches because
It was a
of
full orchestra. Yeah.
40-piece orchestra. So
Yeah.
our experiences were just a little bit different, but we got a videotape that he wanted to watch, from one of our concerts. So he popped that in, and I mean, he let me have it, just as far as Scott's funniness. His humor is crazy funny.
Right.
And apparently I move my hips a lot. So he just sped it up, so that I was doing this. I was like, oh, Scott. We had amazing assistant directors too. You have an amazing director, and it starts at the top, of course. And they get training, and they get amazing training, and his conducting. I mean, yes, his conducting, but his spiritual training,
Right.
he's leading a whole bus full of people.
Yeah.
One last thing I'd love to share with your people that are going to watch this is, honor the time that you have on the buses and in the cars, because you'll never really get that back. These are very special times, and this is the time that you want to soak up all you can about who God is, and why we're here, and what we're supposed to do when we go out and we share the light. The Bible says we're supposed to be salt and light, and man, these opportunities don't come all the time. So God's obviously placed you in these spots for now, and so don't waste it.
Have you ever wished you could gift your life-changing Continental experience to someone else? Well, you can. Your monthly giving can make a huge impact for our teams all over the world. Did you know that this year, we'll have more than 20 Continental groups on the road, communicating in 7 different languages? The Continental story goes on, so keep writing your part of it by being on our support team. And our groups will say, thank you, in 7 different languages.